Guy?
Matty, good morning. It's Guy in London. What will it take to convince central banks that Bitcoin has a future and should be part of the financial system? I'm looking at the Reserve Bank of Australia's Mr. Lowe this morning talking about Bitcoin being a terrible means of payments and a speculative mania. What will it take to convince those central bankers, do you think?
Pleasure to meet you, Guy. Well, Bitcoin is a global payment system which operates independently of the central banks. So it really relies on the power of the crowd and the power of its users.
But what about the issue with payment? I mean, it's not as easy to make a transaction in Bitcoin now as when I first started using it a few years back, and it was almost instantaneous and didn't cost anything.
Right.
Now, the cost of making any transaction is significantly higher than it was, and it takes forever to get it through the system.
Right. So in December and January, we saw a lot of demand and a lot of transactions happening because of the excitement in the price. And there was actually a clog in the network. So that type of dynamic did play out. So we saw higher transaction costs and all that. So since then, as the price has come down, the interest has come down as well a little bit. And at the moment, if you send a transaction in Bitcoin, it'll go right through with transaction costs comparable to what you were paying before. And the more liquidity we get into the market, the better that's going to be.
So really interesting that they made a great argument where there was scalability problems, but that's the thing with technology. And if you've been following this channel, I've made this analogy several times where, cell phones in the 1980s and 1990s just didn't make practical sense. But with anything that's technological, over time, it's going to improve. And that's why I'm not worried about Bitcoin. And there's other competitors like Bitcoin Cash and Litecoin that are going to be solving these problems. So I'm definitely not worried about it. And I know that the central banks will probably never, or they're going to try to slow down the growth of cryptocurrencies because they do make a good argument where there's nothing you can do to stop it. But the real thing that's holding cryptocurrencies back is actually Wall Street and government regulations. So I think the sign for us to actually see a large growth in cryptocurrencies, and obviously we've been dealing with a bear market, and finally it looks like, the tides are changing, but I am still cautious, and I still think that there could be an additional correction or additional dip until regulators and the pension fund, the Wall Street funds are able to actually buy and manage cryptocurrencies. And we're getting closer and closer. Obviously, hedge funds are already doing it, but hedge funds are private money. But once institutional money can come into this market and start to help build the infrastructure so we don't have these scaling problems, that's where you're going to see a lot of growth. And I do think it's going to happen this year. And I've made the prediction that we should see a $20,000 Bitcoin by the end of the year and a market cap for all cryptocurrencies of over $1 trillion. Now, I would obviously take it back, or I would change my prediction if for whatever reason the government or something comes to try to block it, but I don't think that's going to happen. I've mentioned in the past that Goldman Sachs has now invested money into one of the cryptocurrency exchanges. So once you got Goldman putting their money in, the government is going to work with cryptocurrency and work with Goldman. And it is really interesting. I've brought up this point that Wall Street made a lot of money on these shorts. They created the futures. The market basically tanked, and eventually Wall Street is going to want to reverse that trend to make even more money, and that's why I do see a flippening. I don't know when, and like I said, I would be watching the news. I think it's very important that will signal the trends. I think that's where we basically make a huge jump and we hit the numbers I was talking about, and that will hopefully happen before the end of the year. But keep following the news, keep educating yourself on investing, and only time will tell. And thank you for watching. And then on another side note, I've probably mentioned this a couple times, but I am going to be doing shorter clips on fast money because for whatever reason YouTube flagged it. It's now all copyrighted. The Bloomberg interviews, I can go further, Fox News, and some people were even asking to have more coverage of different material, so I'll be doing that. if you do follow any future videos of Fast Money, CNBC, and you see that it's 30 seconds and I stop, it's because now they're being they're just being really rough with sharing their content. So whatever, now Bloomberg and Fox News, and if you have any other media outlets you're interested in, please comment, let me know. I'll be sharing longer clips for them for now because they don't care and they're not flagging my videos. But a good amount of my popular videos are now gone because CNBC was like, no bueno, but it's all good. I'll keep making good content with or without the news clips. Anyways, thank you very much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon.